back. So, as you can see, I've gotten some work done. But as you also might be able to see, and maybe you don't notice right off, but I've been a little unfocused, which is really my biggest challenge to overcome as a painter, is that I seem to be easily distracted moving from one thing to another before finishing up the first thing. So in this case, I started doing the second flesh coat, and so that was going along really well, and then I decided to start doing some basing of the clothing. If you remember from my last video, I actually wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go right then, and I ended up going in both directions, which is never good, and not from a quality perspective, but really more from a time management perspective, because you know, when I'm doing these commission pieces, I mean, the whole goal is to produce a quality product that takes a minimum amount of time. The more time you take, the less you actually make. So if I'm constantly going off in different directions, then I'm actually costing myself time. So in any case, yeah, you can kind of see the results of that here, which is, you know, I've got this guy, and then essentially all the guys over on this side still need that second pass on the flesh, and then this guy and all, you know, this guy and all the guys over on this side have had that second coat, and some of them have base coats on their clothing, and some haven't, and just a mess. So today I'm going to focus on that second coat of flesh. That's first. Then I'm going to go back and start basing in the clothing. But let me talk a little bit about the clothing too. The Warlord games, well, not the Warlord games, the Celts in general, the way the units tend to look are a little bit kind of more like a mob than a ranked up unit. So there's a lot of individuality to the clothing, or at least that's the approach I'm going with, and the way I went with it last time. But in order to create some cohesiveness to it, I do groups of colors. So for example, these three colors represent, or actually four, I should say, these four colors represent the main four basic colors for pants and or shirts, but there's also a lighter tone in there somewhere too, like his shirt. And those will then go off in different directions, but at least that base coat will be similar throughout the unit. So, you know, I might have two different guys with the same yellow pants, same, well, really mustard pants, but the final results might be different, whereas he might have a plaid, he may just have a solid color. So that is, that's how that's going to, that's the direction that's going to go. I also did some of the metal and didn't do it on others. So yeah, I need to focus. That's my goal for today. So I'm gonna go do that, and I think I'll come back to you when I've finished up the flesh, just so I can say, look, I did it and I didn't get distracted, if that is the case. Otherwise I'll come back and say, look, I did it, but I got distracted. So we'll see, and I'll talk to you in a bit. Alright, so it's that second coat of flesh. The first highlight is done, and that's across the board, and that is, by the way, is 32, 4, 6, 8, 38 minis, all with 2 coats of flesh on them now, and I'm pleased with how things are coming. So my next question for myself is, what now? And I think what I'm going to do is base coat metallics. It's a nice, simple, quick goal for my next task. So I think I'm going to do that. So it means helmets and chainmail and weapons, and making sure that that is all base coated. It won't take very long to do that, and so then I'll come back and make sure that's done, and figure out what we're doing next. So here we go. So this stage isn't really that interesting to look at, and I'm not quite done, but it's almost done, at least the silver bits, and then I'm going to do the brass bits, and then start doing some washes. This is tedious. Anybody who's ever painted a large unit of anything, well, you know, as you get into the middle of the process, the fun can sort of drain away. But I've found that as I go through and get, you know, farther and farther, and you do a little bit here and a little bit there, and you sort of do it across all your minis, and then before you know it, things are starting to look almost complete. So you just kind of have to keep going, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going and see where I can take this. Here, let's have a look overhead at the task in front of me. Yeah, not that bad. So, yeah, maybe it'll focus, or maybe not. Focus. Alright, fine. That's it for the time being, and I will probably be back before the end of the day. So I have been continuing on with my metalwork. At the moment I'm doing brass colors and periodically doing some washes. I find that the new Seraphim Sepia shade works well over silver to provide a brass or almost bronze look, as on that helmet there. And that provides an interesting contrast to doing, say for example, Agrak's Earth Shade, which really makes more of kind of a dingy steel, or Agrak's Earth Shade over brass, which is very similar, but you know, it's a different look. So it just provides a range of metallic colors. Also today, I rewatched Starship Troopers. I haven't watched that in at least a year. And for those of you who are new to my videos, or maybe haven't seen any of them before, it's my only movie credit. I painted spaceships on that movie. So when I'm watching it, I always end up spending a lot of time just looking at my work. And I also watched Hannibal, which was okay, not great. And what else? I watched a couple other things. I mean, and when I say watched, really, it's sort of just on in the background as I paint. I like to have movies or television shows running. I don't usually watch them because if I'm watching them, then I'm not painting. So, but I do think I am getting close to done for the day. So I figured I'd go ahead and just sort of do a little closing video, and you know, we can look at my progress. No progress over here, by the way. So yeah, there we are, and I am going to be back in the shop in a couple of days, and at that point I will shoot some more video and we'll see where I am. Alright, so we'll talk to you later. Hey, how's it going? It's been 2 days since my last video, which is actually this video, because I never actually put the other one up, so I'm just going to continue on and make this one longer video. I don't really have too much more to say today, but let me give you a brief update. I've been doing bits and pieces here and there, but the major thing I'm working on right now is final skin highlighting, which you can see in these naked gentlemen here. So the final highlight is Rin flesh, and it's pretty light, as you can see. But it's not just that. I mean, I actually have to, for this final highlight, I do a custom mix, not of the color, but of the overall consistency, which is equal parts paint, retarder, and gloss medium. And the reason I do that is because I don't do wet blending, but if you do mix up a fairly transparent paint, you can do a highlight that sort of replicates that effect to a certain extent. It's not as smooth a transition, but it's a good transition, and I think you can see it here. I hope you're not being offended by the male genitalia. This is the first time I have ever painted penises, so new experiences all around. But I do like this flesh tone mix. I've always enjoyed this one. But in addition to just the 3 colors, I've also been using some spot washes of various colors, including the new Reichland Flesh Shade, which is a new kind of flesh wash from Citadel, and then a mix of a wash that I made of a color called, what is that color called? It's something plum, plum pink, and it looks a bit like that. And so using some spot washes, see on that head there, in the mouth and in the eyes. And there's a few more guys around that have some of that. And I did drop some of that into most of their mouths, just to give some red tones around that area. And then I went around today and made sure all the weapons were done. Spear shafts had colors. This is, I am starting to feel like I'm getting past the tedious portions and getting on to where I can start working on some of the more interesting things, like the woad paint, for example. And Plaid will be interesting. And time consuming. This is a long project, and not because of the number of models, but because of the number of models with complex paint schemes. So yeah. And you know what, in something like this you just have to do it one step at a time, and eventually it all gets done, one hopes. No, it really does. Yeah, so there you go. And today I watched another Kevin Smith Q&A, Too Fat for 40, and then I watched Red State to sort of keep with the Kevin Smith theme. And if you've never seen Red State, I highly recommend it. It's a fun fun. It's a kind of a creepy movie, actually. It's almost like he's channeling Quentin Tarantino, but it's something I've seen before. And again, when I have movies on, it's mostly so I can listen, not so I can watch. And right now, I'm listening to episodes of Warehouse 13. So that's it for now, and I may come back later, or I may not, but we'll see. I'll probably try and record a little something, but I don't expect that things are going to look too much different when I finally wrap up today, which will probably be in the next hour or two. And yeah, but I might talk about some other projects that I have going on, because I have a few. But that's it for the moment, and I will speak at you later. Okay, at this point, I've done the final highlights on the flesh tones, which is a nice accomplishment for the day. That's a lot of dudes. And also got all of the weapon medals done, and bits and pieces here and there of other things. But I think at this point now I'm going to be moving into clothing. Will be my next step. I probably will leave woad paint to last, and so yeah, next step will be clothing, and I'll probably won't be able to get to that until next week, sadly. Yeah, so that is it for this project today. But let me get right back. I mentioned another project that I'm working on, and although it's not too much to look at yet, I kind of want to talk about it, so hold on one sec. So this is a HeroClix map, and this is the beginnings of the 3D version of that HeroClix map. So my plan is to essentially recreate this map in 3D, because it's pretty simple. It's called Gamma Range. This is where the Hulk became the Hulk. It's essentially a bunker, some rocks, some jeeps, a platform, some trenches, and a lot of dirt. So I'm thinking I can do this one pretty easily, and it's kind of a dual purpose thing. One is that I'm playing HeroClix now, and well, I like 3D terrain. But the other thing is our store is trying to get more and more into HeroClix and drawing more people into the hobby, and I figured this is a good way to do that, especially at the new store at the mall. So yeah. Anyway, that was the new project that I wanted to talk about, and since I've done that, I am going to go and try and get this thing up so that people can actually look at it as opposed to having it just sit on my computer. So next time will be next week, and yeah, brand new video at some point. So there we go. Talk to you later.